We're going to call this regular council meeting to order. Monday, April 7th, 2025, 5:02 p.m. And we request you turn or silence your phones, please, and a roll call.
Commissioner Edelman?
Here.
Commissioner Hetherington?
Here.
Commissioner Morris?
Here.
Commissioner Prentice?
Here.
Here, please stand, take your hats off for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing, please. Dan, you want to give the invocation?
Thank you.
I might have surprised you, but we're cutting down out this time.
Let him off the hook. Yeah. I'm Pastor Dan. I'm the chaplain of the Fire Police, by the way. So, our fire heads and hearts. Good and gracious God, you have placed us into a complex world with very difficult decisions, but you have risen some of us to the top to be able to make those decisions on behalf of many people. We ask that you might bless this council and our community, that may continue to serve faithfully and selflessly, watch over us and guide us in our decisions and our conversations this day and all days. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay. We're going to need approval of agenda. Give me a motion, please.
Motion. Second.
There's no changes that I know of, so great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public comment. If you got a comment, please stand. Just give us your name, and you have 3 minutes. Okay.
So
You want to give us your name, please, so that she
I
can.
will. It's Neely Erickson, Neeley, Erickson, Erickson, and I'm with Illinois Realtors, and I'm joined today with Connor Brown, the CEO of the Northwest Illinois Alliance of Realtors. I heard you say his name, Mayor, and this is him.
I seen him on TV.
Yes. This is the mayor.
We're not that backwards around here. We see.
Good evening, Mayor Fitzgerald and Commissioners. As I stated, my name is Neely Erickson, and I'm here on behalf of the Northwest Illinois Alliance of Realtors and our 1,300 members. We recognized that on the agenda that the city is discussing a rental registry, so we are here to listen to what the concerns are and what the rental registry would encompass should the city continue to move forward with it, because we understand that the city has some problem property owners, a small number of problematic landlords, not the entire housing provider community, and creating a costly broad-based regulation system to address a narrow issue, punishing responsible landlords while doing little to curb the actual offenders. And these systems are not cheap. You cannot do this through a simple Excel system. You have to get an actual software system. The city of Freeport's costs $20,000. The city of Rockford's is $15,000. So this is a major administrative lift for many communities, especially as one without a clear mechanism for enforcement or a dedicated housing department. South Beloit does lack the authority under Illinois law to license rental properties. That means any registration system adopted cannot legally be used to prevent someone from renting out their property. In practical terms, this means that bad actors still need to be addressed through the same legal channels that the city has been using, through code enforcement, court proceedings, and nuisance abatements. A registration system alone does not create a new enforcement tool or eliminate existing legal processes. It is important to understand that no city, regardless of whether it has a rental registry or a licensing program, has eliminated their problematic property owners. These systems can sometimes give the appearance of action without actually resolving the core issues that exist within the community. Additionally, realtors are licensed property managers in Illinois and already are regulated by the state with education, ethics, and consumer protection requirements that are in place. The vast majority of housing providers are responsible professionals who want to be a part of the solution. In closing, that is why we urge the city to work with us on any further ordinance that should be drafted or any further conversations, because we deal with these across the entire state and are very familiar with their implications and their practices. And thank you for your time, Mayor and Commissioner.
Okay, thank you for that enlightening information. But the reason that's on our agenda tonight is we're looking for ways to fix the problems we have. And we're gonna do what's best for South Beloit within the law, but we're gonna look at every avenue that's there. And we will make the decision what we think is best. So, I mean, I hope, that coincides with what you just said, but I'm not gonna promise anything. What we're gonna do is gonna be completely legal, wherever that is. And, tonight we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna make sure every council member up here, has some information to think about, to go home and to research, and come back in a month or 2 months, or 2 weeks rather, come back in 2 weeks, give their ideas. We're gonna read, we're gonna listen to whatever anybody has to say up here or in the audience, and then we're gonna try to form a plan after that. This is something that's, it's been a problem. It's nothing new. We've all been here for quite a while, and it's something that I want to get fixed because it's not being fixed. And for 10 years that I've been here, it's only going downhill. And so we are gonna look into it. We are gonna have it fixed sooner or later. But it's not something that's going to start today. It's starting today. When it finishes, I have no idea. That's the timeline we haven't come across yet. So, but anybody else got a comment? Public comment? All right, moving on. Approval of the minutes for the regular council meeting held on March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy Tracy Patrick Day. 2025. Get a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, report of officers, finance, for claims paid March 15th, April 4th, 2025 for the amount of
$507,081.43.
He said motion, get a second?
Second.
Tracy, please.
Commissioner Edelman?
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington? Yes. Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Prentice?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald?
Yes, attorney's report.
Yes, just a couple brief updates. So for the council, just wanted to give everyone an update on the pending litigation with New Chapter Group. As everyone is aware, New Chapter Group did appeal the court's order of demolition and municipal fines from last year, and the case was before the appellate court, the 4th District's appellate court. The 4th District scheduled that case for an oral argument on Wednesday. New Chapter Group did file a motion to try to stall or delay that argument, but the court did deny that motion that was filed, and so the oral argument was held on Wednesday. Attorney Eric Miller was present on behalf of the city of South Beloit. Usually those arguments are a good indicator of what questions or issues the appellate court may have had on the matter. And in terms of questions that were asked of the city, it really was questions that we believe are more geared towards the fines that were awarded by Judge Barch as opposed to the demolition itself. There were no questions that were asked of the city regarding the proof that the city put on at the 4-day trial to receive the demolition order, or the standards under the law, or the standards in established case law. So conversely, the questions that were asked of counsel for New Chapter Group were really about whether or not it was reasonable for New Chapter Group to take the position that they felt that they had been barred from the building. So there were a number of questions asked by a number of different judges on the appellate court panel. It's a 3-judge panel where you could tell that they really wanted to hear an answer on that from the other side. Now that the oral argument is complete, the city should receive a decision anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. So we think it'll be somewhere in that neighborhood. And obviously, as soon as we have that, we will let you know. We did point out to the court that no bond was posted or stay sought by New Chapter Group for the demolition, and that the demolition was complete. We did advise the court that as well. So happy to answer any questions that you may have. Otherwise, that's my update on New Chapter Group.
Any update on the foreclosure suits? The other suits?
Yes, there is a sheriff's sale that is scheduled for May 1st. That the notification and publication for that should be going out this week. It will be an in-person sale that will be conducted by the sheriff, and Attorney Doug Henry will be at that sale to credit bid what's owed to the city. Also, the city has recorded now its demolition lien. Even though the project is not complete, there was so much of the expenses that have been paid. We went ahead and rescheduled that demolition, we recorded that demolition lien with the expenses that we had to date. So obviously anyone who were to bid in addition to the city would need to be, willing to take care of those costs as well. So
What do we estimate the total cost is at? I know we've talked about it, but I'm just getting.
the total cost
Total
of the
cost,
demolition.
Yeah, demolition and all the leads.
What
on
were
it.
the? I think it was
After the
1.3.
asbestos abatement came in, it got really close to 1.3 or just there short of.
Okay.
I think originally it was 1.2 and it was almost a
Do they have to,
$100,000.
in the sheriff's sale, cover the fines that are on the property as well? or-
No, nope. The sheriff's sale is for the foreclosure case that was filed for the unpaid sewer bills and mowing bills and the city's costs for that suit. So that is what would need to be covered by the, by anyone who essentially came to bid on that. But again, that wouldn't provide clear title. The only thing that would provide clear title would be an amount that took care of the memorandum of judgment, which is that $8 million in fines, and then the roughly $1.3 million demolition costs. Okay.
So they can't sell it with us. We don't
There is a
know.
tax buyer also, just so everyone is aware. That tax buyer has purchased 3 years of taxes and could petition the court for a tax deed. But again, given the fact that the city has a pending foreclosure that is set for a foreclosure sale, the statutes then allow for the tax buyer to petition for what's called a sale in error. So we have reached out to the tax buyer to advise them of what's going on so that they have the ability to do that, to seek return of their funds.
Okay, any questions? If not, moving on.
Mayor, it's up to you. If you want to move staff reports following, we can do that if you'd like. Otherwise, Don and I can provide our reports. It's up to you.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay, I'll go real fast. At the next meeting, April 21st, we proposed as a staff that the board considers moving the meeting to the Nature at the Confluence. We're going to be doing some recognition for high school record-breaking athlete Ross Robertson. He's been in the top 4 now for not only career points scored, but also rebounds. So we have some sign approval that has cleared the county. We're working through placement on that, and then we have some recognition that we'd like to present to Ross and his family, some teammates and friends and things like that. I think we should move the next meeting to the Nature at the Confluence, so as long as everyone's okay with that, that's what we plan to do on the 21st.
Everybody okay with that? I am.
All right, and then want to just also let the board know that randomly IMRF, which is our retirement fund, holds our random audit. We completed that. It's a somewhat tedious process to provide all the documentation that they sometimes ask for, but congratulations to our payroll teams and our insurance teams and things like that. Tracy and Don and Kylie have successfully navigated the Illinois Municipal Risk Fund or Retirement Fund audit. So well done, team. Also wanted to provide a brief update on the hiring process. We have many positions right now open. We have one in wastewater. We're looking for seasonal kids in the parks department or adults 18. They have to be to replace the 4 kids that we lost from last year. We had a handful of college students that were really great last summer to work with, but because they grow up and they move on and they get jobs and internships, we eventually lose them. So Steve has 4 vacancies over the summer that we are working to try to fill, as well as Jeff's wastewater. But there's always a position or 2 out there on Indeed. We try to also call those out on our webpage that will link them to the Indeed listing. So I think the town of Beloit hiring process is always listed. Our hiring process with PD closes on the 14th of April, and then we've got a handful of other positions. So always trying to recruit. And then the last thing that I have for the group is In 2022, we were awarded just over $1 million in ARPA funds. That was the rebuild fund. Don is going to talk a little bit more about those, but we did successfully as a team navigate properly allocating those. When the city found out that we were going to receive those funds in 2021 or 2, we immediately earmarked them for the lift station construction, which still hasn't happened. It made redesignating those funds really complicated because we just hadn't gotten through all the hoops to acquire the property on Bluff, to finish the design engineering, and then start construction. So it did make things a little bit tedious, but with a lot of help from the Fairground office and a lot of hair pulling out of Don, which is why he's got that buzz cut today, we were able to appropriately designate those funds under the right category, so the city is at no risk of having to pay some of those back. There are a lot of tense emails floating around that if you don't have this properly allocated, you're going to have to pay the funds back. We are in the clear on those ARPA funds. So I just wanted to let the board know that. And then I'll hand it over to Don, who's got a little bit of a financial update.
Okay. I handed out kind of a summary. This is kind of like a pre-audit report as to through 12/31/24. Bottom line is that in what you have in the first top of the first sheet is a summary of each of the funds of the city, and you'll notice that there were some funds that spent more than they took in, but every fund has significant fund balances, which is the very right-hand column. Just one significant comment regarding sewer fund. You'll notice there that it's a positive, the change in fund balance was a positive $125,000. And typically we're operating a loss in the sewer fund. And so the reason that we went from a negative about $500,000 to $600,000 in a loss to a positive was because of the recognition of the remainder of the ARPA funds that were not spent on the lift station. And that was $791,000 that had been deferred as revenue. So we got the money in 22, and we had spent $240,000, but the rest of it was sitting there waiting for us to finish that project. But since we reallocated the money, we'll recognize in 24 that $791,000 as income. The cash has been there since 22, but revenue-wise, it had not been utilized. So consequently, that changes from a loss to a positive for this year. You'll notice that the pension funds were both increased in values this year, and we're having an actuarial study on both of those. That the data is ready to be sent to the Beloit and AMED to do the actuarial study. Getting down into the specific revenue and expenditures for this year. At this point, looking at the very right-hand column of the budget variance, the one department that is a negative is the general, which basically are revenues only. So the revenues for the year were $158,000 short of what we had budgeted, and but overall our expenditures then were down significantly. So the bottom line for the general fund is a positive $1,082,000 at this point. There are some other adjustments that will be made between now and when the audit is finalized, but it should not have a significant change on these balances. Just going to the next page, actually the third page, if you will, in that page over, so you get to the bottom of the investments. You'll notice at the very bottom, you've got a whole year. This report is a rolling 12-month period. But of significance, you'll notice that that the net changes for the last several months are negative. And basically that's somewhat typical. It's higher this year than normal. And as a matter of fact, you'll notice that at the end of that 12-month period, we actually spent more than we took in by $1,124,000. And that compares to the same period a year ago, where we had a positive $1,716,000. And part of that is we had a lot of projects, including the Garden Hotel, that were major expenditures that were completed in this last 6-month period. So it just points out some of the issues, but our fund balances are still rather significant. And one of the things that I was going to point out on the first page is that interest income for the year was $1,078,000. And last year was $789,000. The year before that, $157,000. And the significance of that is interest rates. And interest rates are on the way down, so that we would expect in 2025 that number will be less. If rates continue to go down, that number will continue to decrease, and as a result, there's more and more pressure to control expenditures. I think that's pretty much all that I have. Any specific questions that you may have?
You add them all up and you subtract everything. How did we do last year?
Very good. At this point, the general fund, going back to the first page, the general fund change in fund balance is $1,082,000 as it stands right now. I believe it will go down a little bit more, potentially another $100,000, but it still will be somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million. There were some other funds that had negatives that were planned expenditures, so bottom line is that we had a good year.
Any questions?
Do you know how much the dispensary income went down?
Okay, pardon?
Do you have any idea off the top of your head how much the dispensary income went down?
I do not. Well, I have a pretty good idea, but it's because of the legality on cannabis revenues with the sole source, we're not able to divulge that.
Are we getting some from the new dispensary yet?
No.
Next month.
No. We don't know what that number is. I should get that. There was a slight increase last month. We did get some numbers on the sales tax. We don't know if it's for 1 month or if it's 2 months.
We're hoping it's for one.
That was around $130,000.
So I did the math, and if we had to try to figure out from the Department of Revenue if that's covering just January or if that was for January and February. If it was just January's number, then our million that we guesstimated is under by about $500,000 if we receive the same amount all 12 months. So we're on a really good track. If that was for 2 months, then we're more likely to receive $750,000 instead of the million, which would make our guesstimations under. So we still don't know for sure. The number that we got, I'm really hoping was only for 1 month. And if that's the case, we did really good. If not, we're going to hope that it upswings as the months go on.
Yeah.
So we're short of $1 million.
We did get a distribution. In fact, it was today that it was released.
You weren't supposed to
It's
talk
not
about it
in
today and
our
put us on the spot, Don. I would have better
I take back my question.
All right, yep. I guess we'll move on from marijuana.
But we'll be able to report that future months.
I know there's a legal thing too. I mean, you can report about a lot of things, but you can't report about how much you make on marijuana, which doesn't make sense to me, but I don't make the laws there.
Well, there's a lot of issues, particularly in sales taxes, where you have sole sources that they do not allow you to release the information. And up until
Okay, anybody else? All right, moving on. We're gonna start our new business, and the first thing will be, discuss and approve hiring Paul Reed as Detective Sergeant for the Police Department at a rate of $44.92 an hour, and we need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion on this?
Does Paul have a speech
No,
ready to go?
well, we got to vote on it first. We got to vote on this, all right, we're gonna vote on it. Tracy?
Commissioner Edelman?
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Prentice?
Yes.
Yes, okay, Chief, it's all yours. You guys take the floor here.
Thank you, yeah. I guess Sonia has dubbed this day National Paul Reed Day, I think initially, but then it's a worldly Paul Reed Day, so it's a
Global.
proclamation.
Global.
Global Paul Reed Day.
All right,
So,
we all agree.
as your chief for the last 6 years, it's always been one of my top priorities to create this position of the detective sergeant. We have patrol sergeants, as you know, but I think to make our department more efficient, I've always wanted this new position created, so I thank you for allowing us to do this. We have a top-notch candidate. Paul Reed threw his name in the hat as our detective. He went through a promotional process. He passed the written test, flying colors, and I brought in 3 police chiefs from other agencies in Winnebago County. They were extremely complimentary of Paul Reed with his answers, so I'm very confident we have the right person for this job. Paul is a 20-year veteran with our department. He is highly trained, arguably probably one of the most trained personnel in our department. He's always seeking out training, new ideas, new equipment. The most recent one though, for equipment-wise, I had to pull the reins back a little bit because it would have cost us like $25,000. So I appreciate the enthusiasm, but sometimes I got to pull back a little bit. You gotta try. He's just top notch. We're gonna talk about Paul. He truly is top notch. Just a wealth of knowledge. He's always willing to answer questions that we have. Always available. And in addition to his day-to-day investigative duties, he is a member of the Illinois Attorney General's Office, ICAC. It's Illinois Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. And in addition to that, he's on the Winnebago Boone County Integrity Task Force. And they get called out when there's like a critical incident or a shooting, perhaps in another jurisdiction. So he stays very busy. Very happy to have him as a team member. I'm very proud of you, and we'll get on with the show.
Okay.
I should say one more last thing about Paul. A fun fact about Paul that you may not know is that I don't think in 20 years, I don't think he's ever missed a taco day.
I, Paul Reed,
I, Paul Reed,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Code of Ordinances of the City of South Beloit,
the Code of Ordinances of the City of South Beloit,
the rules and regulations,
the rules and regulations,
practices and procedures
practices and procedures
of the City of South Beloit Police Department,
of the City of South Beloit Police Department,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of a Detective Sergeant
the duties of a Detective Sergeant
of the City of South Beloit
of the City of South Beloit
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
We're gonna have, your family can come up and Sonia, or one of the girls will take, I know I won't, take pictures. Come on, Mom, Dad, get up here, come on, get up here.
We'll take one with Paul and his wife, and then we'll bring parents up too. We can
Okay.
get them all four of you, whatever you like. Paul, stop acting like you don't love all of them. All right, guys, go ahead. What do you guys do?
Never seen him in a suit before.
be there. No, you guys go ahead. And then we'll get one all of you too. All right, 1, 2, 3. You wanna go back in? Paul, do you wanna take one with each of the commissioners, each of the members?
No,
I know, yeah.
he's just happy we all voted.
I can tell that he's soaking it up right now. All right, 1, 2, 3. Thank you guys so much.
Congratulations, Paul. Excellent. You deserved it, for sure.
Now, we'll do it next door. I'll be right over there. We'll get one too.
We, all those that are here for Paul, you don't want to stay. I mean, so if you want to go in the next room, I think they got cake, do you? They,
You're going to dinner, so you can
oh, they went to dinner. Okay, well, thanks for coming, and congratulations, Paul. I know this is now the boring part, huh? All right, here we go. Discuss approve ordinance 2842 amended various provisions in chapter 102 traffic and vehicles, article 2 stopping, standing, and parking. Motion, please. Sorry. Okay, this who wants to elaborate on this?
I can see this one up for you.
Yep,
This has come from a long line of discussions about our even odd parking. We have never really had anybody compliment the way that our even odd parking works, or anyone from our police department really think that it's easy to support. It's always been a difficult matter. So for a long time, Commissioner Morse and I have been kind of brainstorming here and there and talking about different ideas. One of the ideas that came up when we asked some of the patrol to chime in on, give us some potential ways, was to consider, we know that we need to have even odd parking because there are just so many roads in South Beloit that are too narrow to get an engine down or an ambulance down, plus one car. So to have, if we risk having cars on both sides of the road and then having to have emergency vehicles go through that, there are, quite frankly, quite a few roads in South Beloit that we just wouldn't be able to navigate. So we know that we need to have it in certain local roads. And one of the ideas that has come up is to consider a even odd month parking, so that not every single day our residents having to move their car from one side to the other. It would be even months, you park on the even side of the road, and odd months, you park on the odd side of the road. This kind of lengthens that period, but evens out the wear and tear just the same. There are going to be a handful of times of the year that this creates a complication, and that'll be during snowplows. We'll still have emergency snow event parking where we would have all vehicles removed, and then there's also going to be some times where we may have to do maybe Illinois American Water is doing meter repairs, or our streets department is trying to get out and sweep when all the leaves fall. There's going to be a handful of instances where we may have to put up some temporary parking, like, hey, this week, please don't park on this side of the road from here to here as we prepare to do maintenance or things like that. So there's not really a perfect way. This is not a fun ordinance, but when you have an old town with some old roads, and there's not a lot that you can do to navigate that, this was the idea that really, I think, if I can speak for the chief, I think it was something we were all willing to kind of compromise and try. So that's what you have before you is an ordinance. Roxanne, am I missing anything? Yeah, go ahead.
I just noticed that, the revision that we worked on following chief's comments to the ordinance didn't make it into the packet.
Okay.
So in the packet is the version from before, and then the updated version that I sent on March 17th. And I can see here, I just sent it to you, Tanya, and to Chief. And so I think that's not the right one.
We could
Just
lay it
one
over.
motion to lay it over.
Yeah, we need a motion to
Get a
lay it
motion
over.
to lay this over.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay,
Sorry
we're gonna,
about that.
no, that's all right. We're gonna lay over ordinance 2842. Lay over. All right. Discuss approve ordinance 2843, approving real estate contract for purchase and sale of lift station agreement related to the property located at 663 South Bluff Street. Get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, who wants to handle this? Well, this is the property that Arlene's property that we want to build our lift station down there, and this property is, we have to have it to do this, saving us over $1.5 million if we don't. And we've been working on this for a long time, and Jeff put a lot of hours in it, and I know Shauna did, and Sonia, I know I had a little bit of time in it, but
And to just clarify, we're simply buying a small little bit of the property.
yeah, it's just, all it is a strip of property runs South Bluff to the river. Oh, go ahead.
It's part of the island in the river.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So yeah, the portion of the property is a very small chunk where it's going to house the lift station itself, generator, electrical equipment, and then actually a small strip of land going all the way back to the river where the force main will then eventually cross the river into the sewer department. We are working on temporary easements for the mobile home park to just directly to the north of that with their shared access drive, but that is only going to be an easement. That's not going to be a property purchase. So this is really the only property that's at this time is required for the project. So this was the big ask, big need, and so finally got an agreement in front of the property owner, and that's what we got before you.
It's a $15,000 price tag, but she's older, but she's very protective of the trees and her land, and she don't want the trees to die, and we had to tell her that we would take care of that if anything happened on the property, which is I mean, like I said, if she told us to go fishing, we'd been in trouble right there, price-wise.
Yeah,
So,
and to Mayor, that originally Fairgrams did assess multiple different locations along the Rock River. This is by far the shortest distance and gets us the closest to the plant.
well, she's got the lift station right on the other side of her, right directly across, so it's pretty much the best place to do. It is the best place, we know that.
We also will combine two lift stations.
So the alternative,
No, we'll combine the two lift stations. We'll be getting rid of two of our oldest lift stations within the city. We'll be creating a new force main and setting up South Beloit for expansion on the west side of the river for pretty much ever.
Longer than we'll be here. All right, Tracy, please.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Prentice?
Yes.
Commissioner Edelman?
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald?
Yes. Okay, E, discuss approved resolution 6610, approving a 5-year road improvement plan for the years 2025 through 2029. Motion, please.
Second.
Okay, this is what we set out to get a plan for what we can do with our roads, and
That's right, Mayor, and really, we hope that this 5-year plan will then teach us how to have a 10-year plan, and our 10-year plan will start to incorporate capital improvement projects on the sewer side as well. But this truly is the start to a capital improvement plan. We have taken all kinds of comments, primarily from Commissioner Heatherington. Thank you for the discussions on concrete versus blacktop in some of these older neighborhoods. So we're definitely going to take all those and roll those into the plan. But I think that committing to the areas and allowing our engineering team and department head teams to work with groups like Illinois American Water and start paving that plan is really a huge first step. And this won't be done. You guys will still have every opportunity to tweak things as we go. We'll certainly bring you options as they arise with each of these, but we kind of wanted to get the projects mapped out in a 5-year plan. Next year, or the year after, we'll turn it into a 10-year plan. We'll keep building on it, and this is how our city creates it.
this comes about because usually we're working with 240-some thousand because that's our MFT. And now with our 1% sales tax that we added on, that are paid mostly by the gas station out there and stuff like that, we are in a position that we have to use this money on these roads. And so we're going to try to take, we're going to take the money, whatever we bring in, fix the roads and the subdivisions and all these small alleyways and stuff that needs to be done, and this is our plan. And it's somewhat, like you say, we can adjust it any time. It's just the start.
We will also, Mayor, continue to keep the board apprised of the exact amount of money that we get in for the 1%. We'll always have that separated, so you'll be able to see what we brought in, how much the project was used, how much MFT, how much 1% sales tax. As we have RBI funds this year, I know we're going to spend those. So every project project that we do complete and put out for bid, we'll continue to keep the board in the loop on, hey, blank amount is coming from the 1%, and we'll keep that record keeping straight down. It's already created last year, we created a separate line item, so we'll continue to keep the communication clear of the projects.
That'll be noted all the time. Whatever money comes in, there will be, and every month will be put down on our list so everybody can see it. Anybody else? Tracy?
Commissioner Prentice?
Yes.
Commissioner Edelman?
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald?
Yes. F, discuss approve resolution 6611, approving services and purchase agreement with Exxon Enterprise, Inc. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Chief?
Yeah, if you remember, we talked about this last time, and I can recap. Axon is our vendor that covers our body worn cameras, our tasers, the software, the redaction software, the storage, and that's what this contract is about. This contract was due to expire in 2 years. Our Axon rep reached out to me and said, hey, you can probably get just as good of a deal if you renew the contract now and extended it for 5 years, and you would get the upgraded body-worn camera and the upgraded taser now. And so we looked at the numbers, and after 5 years, the difference was $691.18 that we would pay more for all of these upgrades. So it really just comes down to dollars. It makes sense to me. I think it's a no-brainer. I don't know.
So by year 5, we're spending $700 more than we would have.
No. Yes. Yeah. And I don't know if you have the actual breakdown, Commissioner, but it's all right there. And those are solid numbers. They're not going to change. That's what the contract will be.
I'm not going to say a lot, but I read up on the Exxon. I read up on the tasers and stuff like that, and it's still, it's very. I don't know what to say about
It's a
it.
great resource for.
Yeah, well, it's better than using guns. Let me put
Yeah.
it that way.
Yeah.
That's about all I can say about it.
I'd like to know when we get to test out the tasers and who's going to be helping with that.
Are you signing up?
Well, you get
You let me know. Right? I'll set that up.
to you get to test them.
You just volunteer yourself.
Fundraising.
All right. Anybody else got anything to say
Well
about it?
played. Well played.
Trace?
Commissioner Edelman?
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Prentice?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald?
Yes. Discuss approve resolution 6612 approving the use of MFT funds for Manchester Road Servicing Project in the amount of $575,000. Get a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Where
I
we
can
at?
take this one for you, Mayor.
Okay.
This is the intersection that is basically across the street from the Quick Trip. What we have is an intersection that's not very sexy to spend money on, and so we really wanted to get this particular intersection taken care of before we started spending 1% sales tax money. But this is the intersection that, as Middle Road and Manchester Road from the south are approaching 75, there's next to no pavement left. There's 0 striping left. It's been high on the complaint list. It's going to need more than just resurfacing because it's concrete. It's going to need some full depth, and I can let Brandon get in the weeds, but we got to spend this RBI money by June. And last year we identified this and the rest of the Misty Meadows project as would be suitable to spend these funds on from RBI. So this was the project that the board picked last fall. We did some pavement core samples. We put it out for bid now, and Brandon's going to get it done.
Yep, so that's basically everything. We got rebuild Illinois funds in the amount of roughly $520,000 that we have to be under contract to complete the project by June 30th. So fair grand following the approval of this resolution and engineering agreement, we will get started on that right away. Because it's MFT dollars that are administered, but it is technically grant money. It comes with some strings attached, which is why you're approving resolutions and specific agreements and not just a general fair grant proposal. One thing I did want to point out is what you're approving tonight are spending the MFT funds for the construction estimated cost, which is around $490,000, and then $30,000 for the design engineering. So that is roughly $520,000. However, we will also need construction engineering as part of this project. We have to do it in order to be compliant with IDOT policies. But there is some gray area that we're working through and waiting for answers on IDOT on how that agreement needs to be set up. So you will see a supplemental engineering agreement for construction side of things to follow. But this resolution, we're estimating those costs for the construction to be in the $40,000 range. This $575,000 allocates that money essentially. The updated agreement will come after the fact, but we won't have to approve an additional or supplemental resolution to cover those costs at that time. So this was the recommendation of IDOT to get this resolution passed. We do not have to wait for their approval to start the engineering, but once we get everything approved, then we have to submit to the state to start their review process.
Will this be tearing up anything from Quick Trip there?
No, it is all on the south side of the intersection, basically right into the intersection. There's concrete pavement for 75. We start then an asphalt roadway to the south. What's currently there is 4 inches of asphalt, which we know is not heavy duty enough for the trucks and things like that we get. So we're proposing 4 inches of removal and actually paving back with 6 inches of asphalt to beef that road up for future expansion.
Okay, yeah, I knew that, but I wanted you to say it. All right, anything else? Tracy, please.
Commissioner Heatherington?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Prentice?
Yes.
Commissioner Edelman?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald?
Yes, discuss approve custom service proposal and contract with ChemScan Custom Service for wastewater treatment plant not to exceed $9,900. Motion, please.
Second.
Jeff, I guess you probably got this one, huh?
Yes, we did the contract with them last year. I was a little skeptical about the cost, but we anyway needed to get them out. Last year it was less. This is not to exceed because if there's a lot of parts or that they need to get, the solenoids can be as much as $750 a piece, so it adds up pretty quick. I think they did it for around $6,000 last year. I was surprised they spent 3 days working on it, getting it just calibrated in perfectly, upgrading the software, and a lot of things that went with it that I didn't even expect from it. So kind of be the same thing again. It's part of our operational process for the treatment plant. Takes samples every 15 minutes. So it does aid in keeping the plant running smoothly.
Anybody else? Tracy, please.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Prentice?
Yes.
Commissioner Edelman?
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald?
Yes, everybody look behind you, the clock out there. Discuss approve repairs to Boulevard clock not to exceed $9,485. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Okay,
I can take this one, Mayor. So in short, that clock has pretty much not worked for the last 4 years. There's been something wrong with one side or the other. We did do a little bit of a call around, try to take a pulse because it was a donation. It was in honor of Mayor Palmer or Commissioner Palmer. Had a long line of service in the community, and when families give us a gift, this reminds me much of the gazebo in the park. There are times when it requires a little love, a little attention, maybe more than we had planned on spending, but we really owe it to the clock to get it taken care of and at least operational. So I think Commissioner Prentice probably gave the best advice, and he said, for now, let's bite off the first chunk, which means let's get all the internal guts operating again, and then when IDOT is done, 2027-ish, with the repairs that they're going to do to Highway 2, maybe then we try to budget for the second half. So what we've got is 2 different packages. I'm proposing that we do kind of just that. I did a little text around. It wasn't a hot topic or anything, but from the gauge of the group that I was able to get, the internal components will include a new timepiece, dial gears, not digital. It's the mechanical. Hands, a master clock controller, junction box, and other related equipment for $9,485. If we wanted to add on the exterior stuff, that does not include painting or anything like that. That would only include LED lighting, 4 Lexan covers for each side of the clock, and the bezels that cover the dial faces. And that would be for an additional $6,098, coming to a total of $15,583. So I think what we have before you tonight is what seems to be the consensus of, for now, let's please at least just invest in the money to get the insides of the clock working, and then in a handful of years, try to come back and do the exterior as well.
okay, what do you think? who wants to,
I came up with the idea, so you know where I stand.
you what?
I said I came up with the idea, so you know
Oh,
where I
okay,
stand.
so you wanna go just clean the inside, do the inside?
I said just do the inside. I just don't like the fact of us doing it all at once before IDOT's out there working on the road is my fear.
Yeah.
Okay, what about, everybody agree with that? Tracy?
Commissioner Prentice?
Yes.
Commissioner Edelman?
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington? Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald?
Yes, discuss approve hiring Amanda Nelson as part-time seasonal employee at a rate of $15 an hour. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
I'm super excited about this one, Mayor. This is an interview that I actually sat in with Roxanne and her team. They were considering bringing on some part-time help. Mandy was an applicant for that. It did not work out for her office. They don't have enough work to keep her busy, but Roxanne said she would be ideal for document destruction process. So Tracy and I brought her in. We did an interview with her here. Mandy is a pre-law, very aggressive go-getter student who's doing a great job in college right now, but looking for summer work. And we have a lot of paper in this building that needs to be through the process of document destruction. So Mandy is going to spend every bit of her long, boring summer in City Hall applying to destruct various documents with the coaching and training of our legal team. So this way we pay our legal team, a handful of hours to make sure that Mandy's comfortable. We'll probably give her some exposure and other things that would not be charged to our plaque. She would do that on her own as a volunteer if she wants to see traffic court on a day, but we are so excited to have someone dedicated to thinking about document destruction.
Just as long as we don't have to do it, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's the truth, compared to other, it's a whole other soapbox, but
I know.
every department really is short-staffed. Every single department in the city of South Beloit could easily justify one more full-time person, and this is just one of those things that it's a really easy job to push onto the back burner. Once you start digging in, you need to stay on it, you need to dig, you need to not let up, and Tracy and her team just don't have time for the document destruction process with the day-to-day work.
Okay, anybody got anything to say about that? If not, let's, Tracy, please.
Commissioner Edelman?
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Prentice?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald?
Yes, discuss possible ordinance regarding registration process for rental properties. This is just a discussion. This is something that I brought up. I brought it up because I've been sitting in code meetings for quite a few years here. And when we're in the code meetings, we got people that buy these homes around here that are, I'll call them absentee landlords, because they are, because they don't live in this town. And we have them brought, and we sit at that table once a month, and we discuss the code violations. And we had the last Wednesday, we had one that had owed us $40,000, and now he wants to settle for $10,000. And how did he get to $40,000? Because he just didn't pay, and we just kept by penalties. But he owns multiple houses in this town, and some of the homes they're single dwellings, but they have 2 to 4 families in them. And but that ain't all. That ain't all of it. Some of this stuff is disclosures, like somebody will sell a house and they'll have code violations, and they just sell the house and people get it, and all of a sudden, hey, who's going to pay us? And that comes to the point. Another deal is where we have these homes that are people abandon them, and then the bank gets them, and the bank sells them for $6,000 or $8,000, and somebody comes in from out of town and buy these houses at fire sales. And once they buy them at a fire sale, they rent it out. And what I like to do, I like to have every house that's bought and sold in this town as rental property. Has to have inspection by the Winnebago County. I mean, but this is just my idea. All I'm saying is I want everybody to think about it. Think about how we can deal with this. And this is like, she brought it up to us, but vacant lots, here's another thing. We have a home that's abandoned. Nobody wants to buy it because like up on Getchow Street, that little house that was there that burnt down. What happened? Sat there for 5 years across from the school. All of a sudden, we go in there, we pay $15,000 to have it tore down, get rid of the asbestos and everything else. But the problem is with that is that's a small lot, and we got rules that you can't build on a small lot. And that's why I said, so this is a picture of, when I handed out, these are pictures of up on Sherlin Avenue where they bought, these lots are small, they're very small. They don't even have room for 2 driveways, they got room for 1 driveway. And Beloit allows them to build on there, and they build a 2-family or 2-story house on there. And I don't know if it's to change our way of thinking about small lots and why, as long as it's the same footprint, I don't see any difference if it's the same footprint. You know, if you have where you don't have, you know, the water runoff and all this stuff, it's all the same, so it doesn't change. But like I told Sonia and Shauna and Tracy, I said, put it on there, give everybody a chance to think and talk about it. Just like I said earlier, we're not doing nothing on this. We're just thinking about this. How can we approach these absentee landlords that don't take care of their property? And most homeowners that live in this town, even that lives in these small houses, they take care of it because that's their home. But if you live in Roscoe and all of a sudden you got 15 houses up in South Beloit, what you want to fix, you collect your rent all the time, but you don't fix your place up. You just leave it, and as long as the siding's okay, nobody's giving you a code violation, that's the way it stays. And everybody talks about beautifying South Beloit, how you're going to come into South Beloit, want everything to look nice. And here, if you come down Gardner Street, and I bet you on the 25 houses on Gardner Street, 20 of them are rental properties. And this is not going to change if this is the way we deal with it. So we're going to have to figure out a way, if we want it to change, to deal with it. And that's what, I don't know, anybody else say what you want. Go ahead.
So, thank you, Mayor. So this is something that we've talked about internally as a team with staff in the past. You know, we are having a significant issue primarily with rental properties in the city of South Beloit in terms of chasing contact for who the current owner is. Oftentimes we're finding that it is changing, you know, many different ways through different LLCs or different corporations, even before the city is aware. The city should know, the council should know that the city does have a clear water inspection form that most of the title companies are pretty good about ensuring that buyers and sellers in their real estate transactions are getting that filled out, getting that sent to the city, along with our sewer certification form, provides us some limited information with regard to real estate transactions, primarily as it relates to with rental properties, you know, when or who the new owners may be. We do have, though, a large number of transactions that are happening just person to person without any involvement from a title company, where the city is learning that ownership changed hands, you know, many months after that occurred, and there was an outstanding sewer bill of, you know, several hundred or several $1,000s, or there were code enforcement violations that were not addressed. Because again, we do our best to try to catch some of those things with that sewer certification, clear water certification process when title companies ask for that information. But in the event that real estate transactions are closing outside of the involvement of that process, it does become a little bit of a cat and mouse game, which is, you know, kind of what we're finding out. The other thing that we seem to have a real problem with here in the city is residential single-family homes that have been turned into multifamily units without any inspections, without any permitting, without the appropriate zoning district. And so the thought process behind the rental registry is at least there would be some limited amount of information that would be required of a property owner to provide. Again, we can have your address and send you certified mailings,
and we'll be able to get that through the county's, information in terms of who owns what. But having telephone numbers, we found, can be of assistance. Having, more regular contact information. I do have communities that my firm represents that do not charge for the registration process. As long as you register within a certain date, there's no fee associated with that. I think it's difficult to compare. I did hear the comments from Neely earlier regarding the fees associated or the costs associated with having a rental registry program. I don't know that at least what we would be suggesting here would require the level of software that some larger municipalities may need. I mean, certainly I could see a community with, over 100,000 residents like the city of Rockford requiring specific, $15,000 in software in order to manage its, rental property registry. We have, we're a relatively small community here. We know for the most part where, most of these properties are. Unfortunately, through tenants calling and saying, hey, the toilet's not flushing, and then, we send, a crew out to determine, well, we thought that this was a single family home, and there's, it's been cut up 6 different ways to Sunday. Again, one of the things that we've also talked about internally in our team meetings is, how can we bring building inspections more local to South Beloit so that we do have a little bit more, perhaps different response time when there are complaints. Again, a lot of times when we are receiving complaints, it is due to neighbors that are noticing things are happening, or in the case of fires that we have had, it would be tenants calling about the fact that there was a fire in what, again, we thought was a single family home, and there are 5, different families living in the property that have been displaced. So really, I think the purpose of having some sort of limited registration would be simply for the purpose of having telephone numbers and contact data where staff would be able to get a hold of a human being in the event that there was a need to have to follow up on something.
Yeah, we're running into problems here with our code enforcement here where you send out a violation and it comes back because the people don't live there anymore. It's somebody else owns the house. And that's, a lot of this stuff is people own. We've had Florida people from Florida that owns homes up here, that rental properties, and then you go there and all of a sudden you can't find them or they won't answer you. So then a month later the house is sold to somebody else, and here we are hanging on to violations and different things like that. It's frustrating, but like I've said before, it's the old town of South Beloit down here, and up there on the west side too, is you get a lot of old people my age that are up there that die off, and their kids don't want nothing to do with it, and they sell it to these people that are doing that deal with these apartment buildings and stuff like that. And that's our towns are becoming. All our towns is becoming is rental property. That's what it's getting that way. And if we tear these houses down and don't let them build on it, there'll be that many more houses. This is just a thought. I mean, all I brought this up is because I want people to think about it. And if you got a solution, anybody, just come up and we'll talk about it. I'm supposed to meet this Paul, what's it? Arena next Wednesday. Fine. I told him, if you got a good solution for a lot of this stuff, bring it up. We'll talk about it. We're looking for a solution. We know what the problem is. Now we want to need a solution. And that's about. Anybody else got anything to say?
I'd say, a lot, honestly, but
I know you.
A lot of the things that you're saying, it does feel like South Beloit kind of has turned into a starter kit for either home flippers or first time, I'm going to dip my toes into renting homes, right? And they're not well maintained. I think that there has to be a solution somewhere to help get these properties fixed up. I don't care if they're rental properties or not.
I don't either.
all I care about is that they look nice. You could walk up, 5-block radius and point out houses that might not even be rental properties, homeowners that don't take care of it. It's an epidemic in this town that things need to be cleaned up. And I don't care how it happens, just that it happens.
Well, this is, like I said, this is a starting point. We'll just deal with this as we go along. It's not an overnight, it didn't become like this overnight, and we won't find a solution overnight, so yep, go ahead.
Would you like our office to prepare a draft ordinance and send it out to staff and council so that at least there'd be a discussion started?
Yeah, sure. That's right. Like I said before, any help will be greatly appreciated, and we'll see if we can fix the problem sooner or later.
So, I think we can look at this from several different angles. And, the last time this came up, I told you I'm not in favor of it because I'm a property guy and property rights guy. But the bigger picture, some of what you're alluding to is the regeneration cycle of the neighborhood. And frankly, South Beloit has been stuck needing regeneration for a long time. And some of what you talk about when you mentioned, the house with the older person that's passed away and it sells cheap, that's part of the cycle of regeneration that happens in the housing industry. One of the things that happens is when the neighborhood becomes so affordable, you get the influx of the landlords, you get things like that. So as our property values have been elevating for the last several years, that's going to help with that. So, if we can find a way, to not focus on that, but focus on how to make the community or the housing stock healthier, I think that's a better play. I'm going to bring up the tax rebate program that, I had brought up to you guys before. Well, South Beloit School District shot it down. They were the largest taxpayer, and, they frankly shot it. Tax receiver.
Not payer.
Largest percentage of the taxes we collect is the South Beloit School District, and they shot us down, because they are mad at some of the decisions that we've made. And it was, it's not how you run a school district, it's not how you make a decision that you're mad at another political body, so you're going to vote something down that would help your community. But we can't change their opinion on that. So, our tax percent for the city of South Beloit is 0.9799. The South Beloit School District, is 5.50. So had we been able to get them on board, that would be a large plus. But without them, we could offer, our portion of the taxes is 11.8%. We could offer incentives to builders. We could decide to buy some of these lots that are cheap and offer various incentives and do things, and I think we could look at these vacant lots and, your pictures on Sherland are a great example. People are buying up vacant lots all over the city of Beloit, and, they're building smaller houses that fit within the price budget for what people are going to do. And I think we could do the exact same thing here, but I think it's going to take the city, in my opinion, instead of focusing on what you're suggesting, you say, okay, we're going to carve out X amount of dollars, we're going to buy lots, and we're going to try and find somebody to build on this. I think if you start replacing some of that, it's going to automatically start that regeneration cycle. Right now, we've got to jumpstart it, which was why I brought up the tax rebate program. Right. And it's not 100% dead yet. It just doesn't have the same teeth because the school district isn't playing ball.
Here's what I brought up more than once, with Ted here and everybody else. I brought up about these houses that are sitting there vacant, I says, if you had these people that are storm chasers that have all these equipment and got these guys that work for them, if you told them, okay, here, you put down a $10,000 survey bond, you come in, you put that house up to code, I'll give you the title. You can rent it, you can live in it, you can do what you want with it. But otherwise, you got to have some incentive for them guys to come in here and do that. And one of them would be you to own the house when you're done, the builder, and they could sell it whatever they want. And I went out and talked to Jim Stringman at the time. I don't know what he owns, whatever he does. He's storm chaser. I went out and talked to him, and I said, what would you think about that? He said, yeah. He said, if the houses ain't too bad. He said, yeah, we come in and put it up to code. We could sell them houses or rent them out. I said, yeah, that's what we want to do, get the houses up to code, because when people buy them on a fire sale, they don't bring them up to code usually. What they do is they put just enough money into them to get people to live in them, and then they move on. Then they move to the next house. But whatever.
Mayor, the other situation that we've experienced here in South Beloit is people buying property at tax sales, stripping the property of copper,
Yeah.
And then letting it go again for another 3 years. So again, it is a significant issue here. We've talked about vacant property registrations, and we decided that, that probably is too cumbersome and too much time on the limited staff that we have here. But at the end of the day, if we can just get basic level contact information for landlords and, and perhaps maybe tenants, it would be significantly helpful for staff for the work that we have to do.
But we don't accomplish anything by getting a house, that we receive a house, and then we pay $15,000 to tear it down and get an empty lot and then have Steve go cut the grass. That doesn't work at all. So it's got to be, we got to figure out something, and well, everybody can think about it.
An example of what I'm saying is Beloit 200 has
Yeah.
had a meeting with some of the landlords in Beloit, some of the larger landlords, and talking to them about how they want to get out of the business. And some of these large landlords are retirement age, and they don't really know how to get out of the business. And Beloit 200 is talking to them about, can we buy your house, rehab it, and put it back on the market as a potential single family. So again, to me, it's the bigger picture of how do we build it, how do we grow it, and not focus on the penal side.
Right. You go along 4th Street. I drove out 4th Street the other day, and I looked at, there must have been 8 new rehabbed houses on 4th Street. And I looked at it, and that was a dump. They all were. And all of a sudden, there's these new houses, new siding, a new roof. They got new siding on it, and all right, we've dealt. This was only a discussion, so we're moving on. I'm done. We're all done. All right, moving on.Moving to life.
We have planning and zoning monthly staff meetings the first Wednesday.
Yeah.
If you ever have a Wednesday off, we do them on Wednesdays because the mayor is off. Please come to them, chime in. If there's going to be more than 3 of you or 3, I will have to post it. But
I don't care if it's
these are the perfect conversations for that too. Is where a lot of this comes from. But a foreclosure roadmap, if you will, has been on our dream board. Every day that I've been in this position.
How many houses do we got? How many houses right now in South?
Vacant lots.
Yeah, vacant lots and houses that are in bad shape.
5 to 10 vacant lots, and probably how many properties not in current compliance would you guess?
Hundreds.
Yes, I was going to say.
Well, we know like we said, about 30. We got about 30 houses that need to be brought up to even the code.
Those are the worst of the worst of the worst.
Yeah, and these are something. I'm not going to get into that because we're. I mean, if you want to come to one of our meetings, come on. Well, go ahead. All right, go ahead. What'd you want? What'd you want to say?
Oh, Sonia, I had a question on, and maybe it's for American Water. The sewer and water connections, are there phone numbers? Is the bill in the tenant's name, or is it in the property owner's name? And if it's in the
Property
tenant's name,
owners.
It's sewer and water, it's in the property owner's name?
Yeah.
So,
Sewer trash is in the owner's name,
Name.
water can be in a tenant's name.
but the sewer and trash are in the property owner's name. So do you collect phone number information
Yeah,
already?
but they
then?
change it all the time. We can't keep track of them because they live in Florida and they moved it. You get a different cell phone. But it's all right. We're done. We're moving on.
No, it's the ownership changing hands.
Yeah.
So they're not always filling out the form. And I get your point, but if they're not filling out the form at the time of closing, they're probably not going to pay attention to our rental registry either. I got it. It's just another tool in the toolbox. That's all.
Or they turn it into a rental, and we never know that.
All right. I think we've done enough on here for one day. License and permits, video gaming, Gardner Liquor Inc. What?
Oh, we have one more resident. I know, Mayor, you were trying to cut it off, but
Oh, go ahead, Randy, go ahead.
I got a question. You have the authority to attach these code enforcements and stuff to their tax bill, right?
We do not.
No.
Not under Illinois law.
Not under the
No,
law.
that
You can't.
that is the law in Wisconsin. It is not
We
the
wish
law
we
in
could,
Illinois.
because what happens is the house gets sold and they owe us,
That would be a
You know,
game changer
I
for
I
us.
thought you had the
no.
authority to attach.
No, all of a sudden, we go down there to talk to them or send them a notice, and they come back and they said, that was the previous owner. I don't know that. And I mean, they stiff us with $1,500 or,
It's a very complex issue in South Beloit. Part of the other problem is that the city doesn't control the water system. We only control the sewer system. So a lot of times you figure out abandonment issues or unpaid water bill issues very quickly, and you have a mechanism upon which you can attack that, which is by sending notices and then ultimately turning off the water service, right?
and what they do,
Because we don't control the water service. We don't have that,
Well, I
we don't
will
have
say
that authority.
Thank you for addressing.
but what they do on the water system is they get a water bill that's up in the 3,000, 4,000, or 5,000. Then they come in and they say to us, hey, how about giving us a break? You know,
Yeah.
we didn't use the water, you did. You know, I mean, well, all right, we're done. We're moving on. How about the gaming liquor? Trace, motion, second?
So moved. Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we're gonna go into executive session. Where are we going in this? We got,
up to you, Mayor, we need to go upstairs and then come
well,
back down.
we got people here, but I don't know what you, I don't care. Just
Yeah, we can go upstairs.
Let's go upstairs.
go upstairs.
Yep.
Chief, you might as well leave. You guys might as well go. We're gonna come back.
I make a motion.
Go into second,
We need a motion and a second.
Somebody
we'll go-
said motion, I think Kenny did, I'll say second.
Yep,